This is TNT Properties Real Estate Podcast. So today we're going to talk about the leasing market, and the trends and what it is that TNT Properties does to accomplish above market value rates.
Right.
So how is it possible? How do we do it? We're going to tell you. So consistently, the leasing efforts that we put through, we always try to determine through comps and analysis and algorithm-based programs and all these different types of forms of technology that we could pool, as well as what we have internally to determine what the fair market value for the property is in terms of rental price.
Right.
So, and consistently, I would say roughly about 75% of the time, we typically lease the property for above that number, whatever it is we determine it. So that always makes clients happy, but the question we always get is like, how do we do it? Because like when we take on a property for lease that a landlord was leasing prior, or another management company or another leasing agency was taking before, it always seems that the rental rate's so low. It's like what do you guys do? And here recently, we took on a property. We're in the middle of taking on a property, and we're kind of trying to learn a little bit more about the property itself. So a lot of times I go onto MLS, or I go to Zillow or Trulia or HotPads or any of those rental platforms to look at the history of that property, of when it was leased, how long did it take to lease, all of that stuff, because that all plays a part. And it is currently managed by another management company here locally. And they also do the leasing. And I tell you, I couldn't find any data on this property at all. The only data I could find is when it was sold to the current owner.
Which was how long ago?
10 years ago. 10 years.
Gosh.
And there has not a single thing, which means that in 10 years, this realtor, this property management company, never ever listed this thing for lease on a public forum. So, which tells me that the only thing that they did is maybe put a sign in the yard. I mean, because otherwise I would be able to find the data. Mm-hmm. And there isn't any.
What do you think they're like using the old forms of advertisement, which is
newspaper, maybe
sign? Let's see, how did they used to do it? 20 years ago. When
I first got my real estate license, the company I worked for actively put ads in the newspaper. And even then, I'm like, why would you do that?
Hey, wait, how long ago was that?
Almost 15 years
15 years ago.
So anyway, but it's just like, even then, I'm like, internet was around. So it's like,
what's happening?
Yeah, why? A newspaper ad? Really? Like, okay. I mean, whatever. I mean, but even then, by them doing that, there was no way to track how many leads, if any, they would get from that. So to me, that's no better than putting a sign in the yard, right? I mean, of course, we all put signs in the yard, right? Even TNT Properties, that's just, it's not just for the leasing aspect of the property, but it's also for public awareness of the company itself and its inventory, right? So signs are very important, but if you do a sign and only a sign, I mean, is that really in the best interest of the client?
Well, no, because tracking is critical. Let me tell you, as a marketing person, even 15 years ago, I mean, when yellow pages and newspaper ads were, I was marketing when that was the way to market. Mm-hmm. And we had the hardest time tracking. The only way we could track is if the person inquiring would tell us, we'd have to ask them, how'd you hear about us?
People don't do that anymore.
No, and then we'd have to document somewhere, we'd have to make sure some form or some type of questionnaire would have that answer for us to reference later. Or that was the only way we could tell if that form of advertising was working.
That's exhausting.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible. I love the way it is now.
Automations.
Right, even on our signs, we put a QR code. So we know how many people are scanning it, where it's coming from. I mean, there's so much data now that we utilize so that our marketing efforts can be tracked and most efficient.
Right. So then we take that data and then we say, okay, here's what's working. Here's what we're doing a lot of, and here's what's not working. So let's make adjustments.
Yeah.
Right. Let's stop doing this and put that capital that we're using for that over here and see if this works. Right. And so we're constantly updating, constantly staying up with the times and being modern, and the fruits of that labor are then given to the client.
Well, and a lot of times that data is there, but companies don't utilize it. So it's just sitting there waiting for them to tap into that resource to find out what's being, most productive for the client as far as their marketing efforts, but they're not using it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like our job, honestly, with TNT Properties, our goal is to help grow the client's investment business. Because, and I say that it's a business because that's what it is. So many people put their emotions into it a little bit, and they used to live there, or it's sentimental to them, or it's like, take that away, make this a business because that's what this is. And it's if they're able to do that, the efforts that we're putting in it's so rewarding, very, very much so.
Right, and educate yourself.
Right.
Because the process works that we have in place. But if you don't understand the process and all that goes into each and every piece, then you can't really appreciate it.
Yep. Everything from the types of photos that we get to the promotional video, the website, the showcase, and everything, all the efforts put into advertising this thing is why most of the time we get above market rate value. Like the amount of applications, we get in about roughly 100 apps a month on average. 100 applications a month. Currently, with it being the time of year, we have leased almost our entire inventory. We're down to like less than 10. And we're still getting in 100 apps a month.
Right.
So it's that just shows that the efforts put in, and it's also kind of cool how it works, because you have one property, like they all work together. All the properties work together, right? Even though they're different, they're owned by different people and different entities. The online SEO efforts that are put in require them all to work together. So
it all feeds, and it's like it feeds it.
Yes, it feeds it. It funnels it to the TNT Properties.
Yeah.
Therefore, we can, even if they're not looking at a specific property, the tenant prospect can say, well, I'm looking for, I found this property, but it's a 2-bedroom, and I really want a 3-bedroom. Great, not a problem. We have that over here, right? So, the efforts of one unit, it's just combined. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like when we take on a new client for leasing services, the marketing efforts are already being utilized because of the buildup of the SEO services from the hundreds of properties before them. So every time we add another one, it just gets that much bigger, that much stronger, that much more of a presence. So you're contributing, the client is contributing to that SEO
year round.
Even if, because I've had owner clients call and say, I don't understand why you're marketing the property was just leased. I'm like, for the next term, leasing term.
Yeah, we're already preparing for new tenants.
Right. I had an owner client just say that. I don't understand. Like we took on this client, and it had already been leased, right? But the tenant hadn't moved in yet. So we took advantage of that and got marketing, and they were confused. Like, well, I don't understand why you would get marketing, because we just leased it. The property is currently vacant, so we're preparing for the next time that the property needs lease, whenever that is, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 years from now. Whenever it is, at some point, it will need leased. And wouldn't it be nice if we already have all the data, and during those 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, we have been building up a website presence for that property ever since? Because SEO is not
No, it's not an instant.
No. So think about it this way. Like if you create a website from scratch, and you you try to, I mean, do you think that that website is going to be well found initially? No, it's not. It's going to be very difficult to find. It takes time, a year or more, to build up that presence. So why not take advantage of it and make that marketing constant? And the longer it's online, the easier it is that it's going to be found.
Mm-hmm.
So
we always tell, whenever we're training new marketing folks, we always tell them that SEO acts as a puzzle master, right? And you have all these different puzzle pieces, and you are slowly taking a piece here. First you build out the edge and the corners, right? And just to get the shape of the puzzle. And then you have to take these pieces and figure out where the colors go. But SEO is just like that. Yep. It's just like building a massive puzzle. Mm-hmm. But it takes so much time to get all these individual puzzle pieces and then find where it belongs.
Lots of wheels that are turning that we have to turn. And once we have it up and running, it's just like a well-oiled machine, right? So it's just unstoppable almost. And we keep adding more data, keep adding every time there's a tenant moving out, we get more data, we add more to it, and it pushes it up, pushes it up, pushes it up.
Right, and there's nothing that sucks more than when you get almost the entire puzzle put together, but you have 3 or 4 missing pieces, and you're like, you can't finish this puzzle. So you got to figure out what those missing pieces are, and sometimes it's not a firm science. It is a system, it is a process, but constantly we are reviewing and studying and researching, trying to figure out, well, this could have worked better, if we had just done it this way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a constant process. So.
Yep, it's
evolving.
It's kind of cool though. It works really, really well. But as a result, above market prices, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not something that we're trying to defy the market, right? There's just that much demand, right? It's the efforts that we have put in for so long are producing that fruit, and the demand is there, and it works.
Knowing when that demand is happening, like for this area, for the Brazos County.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the market. The trend is.
There's different types of leasing markets. You've got more student-oriented leasing market, then you have more family-oriented leasing market, then you have the properties that are a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. So you have to know when to actually list it, right? Mm-hmm. So you have this constant website and SEO presence at all times, but when you list the property, you want to connect that listing to that to skyrocket it, but you don't want to do it at the wrong time. So like with student rentals, around here, leasing 10, 11 months in advance is just what people do. Mm-hmm. That sounds nuts to me. That sounds crazy, right?
Right.
But we're reacting to the market, meaning people are calling. We have people that are moving in a property, and they're saying, "I'm looking for a property next year already." And they even moved in. So it's and those typically student-oriented properties, families, family-oriented properties are a little bit different, right? 3 to 6 months in advance, So, and then the ones in between, you got to play it by ear. Where's the location? What kind of condition the property is? How popular is it typically? It all plays a part.
Well, and then quality assurance. The tenants that are just moving in, even though they were shopping a year in advance or 10 months in advance, they don't like that we are already marketing that property.
No, but guess what? I mean, that's their home, right? That's their
and
home.
They're like, you're already showing it.
Right. Well, so that's why we have things like the professional photos, the 3D virtual tour, the schematic floor plan. We want to give tenant prospects as much data as possible to be able to make an informative decision, or at least be more on the side of, yes, I want to do this, before they even physically see the property. In many cases, some people, we advise against it, but some people sign the lease sight unseen because they have all the data there. It's already there. They can put on their VR goggles and stand in the house and look at it as if they're there. If they really wanted to do that, we have that technology is there. And for some people, that's all they need. Mm-hmm. They got the schematic floor plan because they know where they can put the furniture, if it was going to fit. Is my king size bed going to fit in this room? Yep, sure is. Okay, let's,
Here's the measurements.
Yep, so it's giving them the efficient data.
Virtual data.
Virtual data is very crucial, and unfortunately, too many agencies in this town just don't do that. They're stuck 40 years ago. They're stuck by it's like, oh, sign in the yard. That's all it is. That's all I need. Like, it's not. That's not in your client's best interest. It drives me nuts. But it's you know, it's
ever evolving, and even for us to stay current.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do so much, education with our entire team.
Mm-hmm.
And staying current and studying and reviewing and figuring out what went wrong, what went right. Do we need to do more of this or less of that?
Right. So
that's because we care. We care about.
We truly do care for your success, and that's our goal. That's our why, right? We want you to be successful because we have found success with it. And I always tell people who are have concerns. I'm like, they say, well, it's just whatever their concern is. It's like I'm an investor myself, and I trust this process, and it works. So that there's no reason why it wouldn't work for anyone else.
Well, and our success is not just our client's success. It's all the moving parts, which means people, right? There's the vendors that rely on the maintenance of our properties. They have families to feed. It's a job. There are so many people that are impacted by this business that this service that we're providing. It's helping the tenant, the owners, the vendors, even the community. I mean, a lot of people rely on the success of our services.
Yep.
And so we do take that into our hearts so that we can perform, as professionally as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think it's a perfect place to end it there. So speaking of which, we're on a mission to plant trees for every piece of feedback we receive, good, bad, or indifferent. So we encourage all listeners and viewers out there to leave your feedback. And as a thank you, we will plant a tree to help reduce our carbon footprint and give back to the earth. So we're really excited about that. We keep the numbers on the website so people can see.
Do.
So you can always take a look at that. But yeah.
Yeah, and also you can go to onetreeplanted.org to get motivated and excited. They have all sorts of videos on where they're planting trees and why.
Yeah.
And they're great inspirational videos so that you can see why we're so excited.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.